Welcome to the Savvy Podcasting for Entrepreneurs podcast, a place for podcasters to learn what's actually working in the world of podcasting and how to use their podcast to generate consistent leads in their business. I'm your host, Jenny, and I'm so excited you're here.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm super excited to have you here and I can't wait to jump in. So if you've been a listener of the show for a bit, you've probably heard similar episodes where I have shared all the tools you need to get started to launch your podcast. And while today's episode is similar to that, I'm getting really scrappy here. And I'm only sharing 6 things that you need to launch your podcast because I feel like the longer that need to have list is, the less likely people are to actually do it. So yeah. And if you're ready to get a more in-depth look at how to launch your podcast, make sure to go download my podcast launch blueprint. You can do that by going to savvypodcastingforentrepreneurs.com/blueprint. It's a free guide for you to help you launch your podcast. So make sure to go grab that. Like I said, savvypodcastingforentrepreneurs.com/blueprint. All right, let's get into the episode. So first things first, the most obvious thing is going to be a microphone. And I have said this before, and I'll say it again. You do not need a super fancy mic when you're first starting out. I use a mic bundle that is, I want to say it was like $100, maybe $120. And it came with a mic, a stand, a pop filter, headphones. So really, really good deal for what all came with it. The mic that I use is called the Samson Q2U. So Samson Q2U. And I'll make sure to link that in the show notes so you guys can go check it out if you're in need of a new mic or if you're just starting and looking for a mic. That is a really great one because it is a dynamic mic, which means it doesn't pick up a ton of extra background noise like the Yeti does. So it's a really great mic. Next up, we have headphones. So these really don't need to be anything fancy. You can just use your Apple earbuds if you'd like the ones that are that have like a plug-in because they need to be able to plug into your microphone. But in my opinion, really the microphone is just more important than the headphones. As long as you have a good microphone, the headphones aren't as important, but you still need them. Number 3, you need juicy content ideas. You really can't have a podcast without content, especially good content. So I recommend having a slew of ideas ready to go before you even launch so that you can just map out the episode content instead of having to brainstorm new topics each and every week. It just makes life so much easier and it makes it easier for you to show up and commit to it. So you're not having to worry about thinking about what you're going to talk about, plus mapping out the episode, plus recording. The next thing you need is a podcast host. So a podcast host basically syndicates your episodes to the top podcast platforms and even some more obscure ones, but it'll send them places like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and any other random podcast players that people might use. A huge thing that you need is the right mindset. Mindset is honestly just super crucial when it comes to podcasting. And most people don't even realize how much it actually comes into play until they start like crafting their episodes and recording. Then they start to get imposter syndrome or they're like not liking their voice or something comes into play. So mindset is really big. So you really want to make sure that you're in the right headspace before recording because that can really, really, really derail you if you're not careful. And then lastly, you need editing software. So if you are planning on editing your show yourself, you're not outsourcing to an editor or a podcast manager, you will need to have editing software. I personally use and love Descript. I will leave a link for it in the show notes. And I really think it's great for beginning editors since you can edit by deleting the words versus deleting by the waveform. It just makes it so much easier. So definitely highly recommend Descript. And, if you are editing yourself, that is a really great place to start. There are some other tools that you could use for editing, but I don't think they're as user-friendly for beginners as Descript. So I would love to know, did you have all of these different things in place when you were launching your podcast? Head over to our Instagram, which is Podcasting for Entrepreneurs, and let me know. I'd love to have conversations with you guys in the DMs. It's my favorite thing ever. So I'd love to hear from you. And if you want to check out the show notes for this episode, you can head to savvypodcastingforentrepreneurs.com. And I will see you in the next episode.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast player like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Stitcher, and leave a review. You can find us at savvypodcastingforentrepreneurs.com and on Facebook at Savvy Podcasting for Entrepreneurs and Instagram at Savvy Podcasting. Make sure to join our free Facebook community for podcasters by going to savvypodcastingforentrepreneurs.com/community and join in on the exclusive community just for Savvy Podcasting for Entrepreneurs listeners. I'll see you there.